Greetings and welcome to SCRT B.Ed division. I'm very excited and honored to have Dr. Nelly Deutsch with us. My name is Professor Abha Sharma, and I'm Principal B.Ed in SCRT Delhi. I thank you all for sparing your time to participate in this webinar on mindfulness awareness practice. We will be live streaming the webinar as usual on YouTube for future reference. For the Q&A session, you are requested to post the questions in the comment box, or you may raise your hand and ask the questions in the last. I'm extremely elated to introduce you all to Dr. Nelly Deutsch. Dr. Nelly Deutsch holds a Doctor of Education in Educational Leadership, specializing in curriculum and instruction from the University of Phoenix. She has researched blended learning, and she experiences in implementing technology in blended learning courses in higher education around the world. She started as an admin of a Moodle site in 2003, and she is an online mentor to educators who wish to blend technology into their face-to-face and fully online programs using Moodle, Google Drive, WebQuest, and WizIQ live classes. She presents and conducts workshops on teaching with technology in blended and fully online programs that include Moodle and WizIQ at face-to-face and online conferences. She is a mindfulness, stress reductions, Reiki, and Silva method, Tai Chi, yoga, and the Alexander technique practitioner. Thank you and welcome, Dr. Deutsch, to SCRT. We would like to know more about the mindfulness practices. Over to you, Dr. Nelly.
So once again, let me restate what I said. I'm really honored to be here. Thank you, Professor Sharma, for inviting me, and everyone for joining us. I removed my webcam because, unfortunately, I look kind of battered. I just had an open eye surgery to remove
Yes.
something from my eyes, so I'm going to leave that out. But you don't really need my face. In fact, it might just be a distraction. So let's get started. Mindfulness awareness practice has changed the quality of not only my mind, but other people's minds who practice it. And it really changes the way we look at life and our brains. So the agenda of today's meeting is a little bit of a background, definitions, why practice, dangers of a wandering mind, need for a clean slate, informal practice, formal practice, guided and non-guided practice, and of course an online course that I'm offering you for free. Well, it all started over 2,500 years ago, even more, with the oldest religion, which happens to be Hinduism. It later on developed with Buddhism. It's based, both Hinduism and Buddhism are religions that practice the observance of a custom or a law so that we all live in harmony with the natural order of the universe. And this is called Dharma. It also developed through yoga and yoga practice and yoga philosophies. But it also has roots in Christianity, Islam, and Judaism, the three other religions. It came to the West in the late 60s, early 70s, and was brought over by John Kabat-Zinn, who made it less of a religion and more for secular purposes. A little bit about my background with mindfulness. Well, it started with yoga, coincidentally. In my late teens and early 20s, I practiced yoga for a number of years and loved it. I then went on, after I got married and had children, I went on to Reiki and Tai Chi, and I did that for about 5 years. I still do Reiki from time to time, but actually it's all about mindfulness. That's the aspect of yoga, Reiki, Tai Chi, and other martial arts that have mindfulness in them. And I've been doing mindfulness regularly, formal mindfulness. We'll talk about that for about 30 years, maybe more. So, what is mindfulness? Well, it's the opposite, according to Thich Nhat Hanh. It's the opposite of forgetfulness. So, the opposite of forgetfulness is mindfulness. Mindfulness is when you are truly there. And where is there? It's actually here and now. So, where we are now. It's mind and body together. Mindfulness is awareness, according to Kabat-Zinn, that arises through paying attention on purpose in the present moment, non-judgmentally. And according to Scott Bishop, a psychologist, it's non-laborative, non-judgmental, present-centered awareness in which each thought, feeling, sensation that arises is acknowledged and accepted as it is. Mindfulness also involves acceptance, not approval, acceptance, meaning that we pay attention to our thoughts and feelings without judging them. They're there, and we accept them because they are, without believing, for instance, that there is a right or wrong way to think or feel in a given moment. Whatever we feel right now, it's us, and it's okay. The Greater Good Science Center at the University of California, Berkeley. So why practice mindfulness? Here's why. Oh, wait a minute. I hope you can hear this. I'm not sure whether I put on the, let me share sound. I didn't. So here goes. That's our minds. Actually, our minds are even faster. I couldn't make it fast enough so that you can understand how our minds actually work. But that's what we do. We are constantly in motion, or at least our minds, if not our bodies. But our minds, remember, have an influence on our bodies. So imagine what's happening to our bodies when our minds are constantly in motion. So we actually live most of the time, unless we are aware of mindfulness, on autopilot. So what happens to our life? It kind of goes in the back burner. We're not really living. According to Khalil Gibran, our anxiety does not come from thinking about the future. It's okay to think about the future, but from wanting to control it. And that's what we do most of the time. We try to control everything that happens to us, our circumstances, our relationships. You know, if it weren't impossible, we try to control the weather. Everything around us, we try to control. Whether it's people, we want them to be the way we want them to be, not the way they are. We want them to behave the way we want them to behave, not the way they be. We are constantly trying to control. And this is very stressful because it can't be done. Can't control how you feel, can't control what you think, can't control what happens to you, can't control others. You can't control people or circumstances. And this is something that we need to realize and face reality. Because when we try to control and pull what we want and push what we don't want, we don't face reality. We're not here. We're constantly battling a battle that is not there. And that means that we're constantly battling with ourselves. So that's our control button. We don't turn it on. It's just there automatically. It's who we are. And that's fine when we realize it and we're aware of it. And that's what mindfulness is about. Becoming aware of what we do to ourselves, of what happens around us, what happens to us. Become aware of the circumstances because we can't control them. We can't control the news, social media. We can't control whether someone likes us or not. We can ask them, please like us, but can we control it? Outcomes, health. We get sick. It's natural. Our loved ones get sick. It's natural. We can't control it. We can only be there and support ourselves and others. We can't control, as I said, relationships. We can try, but we can't make it happen. We can't control our thinking. Thoughts just come. It's the way our heart beats. It's part of our being. We think. That's who we are. But we can't control it. We can think about things, but we can't control the thoughts that come in all the time. We can only recognize them, observe them, and if you want, think about them, but can't control them. Can't control our feelings. If we feel sad, we feel sad. If we like someone, we like them. If we don't like them, we don't like them. We shouldn't have to fight and battle with ourselves on why. We just do. Feelings come and go. They're just natural. And of course, how other feels as well. So this is a list of the things. Maybe you can add to it. And I'd love to hear your thoughts, of course. What we can and cannot control. Well, we can control speed, the speed of our breathing. And there are different ways of doing this. If you know about yoga, you know how you can control heat, cold and warmth. You can control things. You can control your breathing too. You can breathe faster. You can breathe slower. You can really slow it down to almost a stop, but not quite. You could also control your heartbeat. Or can you? You can't. Your heart's going to beat whether you like it or not. Hopefully, it'll continue beating for a long time. But you can control your pulse. Again, with running, your pulse goes a lot faster. When you meditate or when you sleep, your pulse may slow down. Listen. You can listen. You might not hear, but you can listen. You can try to listen. But you can't cause your hearing if you've got good hearing and you don't have any issues, health issues. You will hear whether you like it or not. It's just there. You can't unhear. You can observe and watch, but your eyes will see whether you like it or not unless you shut them. But they will see. That's something that you were born with. You cannot control. Thinking, again, as I mentioned before, you can't control the fact that your mind generates thoughts, ongoing thoughts that you're aware of, or maybe that you're not aware of, but it is there. You can think about things, as I said before, but you can't control the fact that thoughts will come. And your feelings. You can think about feelings. How do I feel? Do I feel this? Do I feel that? You can constantly do that, but you can't control the fact that you feel. All your senses cannot be controlled. So what we need is a break. We need to pause. Hit the pause button and take a break. 10 minutes a day so that you can look at the circumstances, look at the news, look at all these things and know that they're there in the background, but take a break. And that's not easy. Some of the benefits of mindfulness practice is to put the mind in neutral gear. Not to move, not to go backwards or forward, just to stay in neutral gear. And that's tricky, as I said. Well, your life will change. Your well-being will improve. And not just yours, others around you. your cognitive function, the quality of your mind will improve. Guaranteed. Studies have been conducted, lots of research, MRI, on how the mind changes after 2 or 3, 10 minutes, in some cases immediately, of mindfulness formal practice. Pain control. Now, pain is there. You can't make it go away unless you take pills, but then it's going to come back if the problem is still there. But by talking to yourself and continuously saying, this hurts, it hurts, it hurts, by having these comments, you will suffer more and more. So through mindfulness, and there have been lots of stories of people who have horrible pain, nonstop pain that can't be controlled, but less suffering. So the pain can stay, but the suffering is minimized. Creativity. You will be free to create. And one of the drawbacks, what holds people back from creativity, and I mean in every area of your life, and we're all creative, of course, is fear. Constant thinking and fearing by not knowing what to do. Will I look good? Is this good enough? Maybe it's not good enough. Is it? I'm not sure. All the self-talk stops creativity. Focus. You'll be paying attention to what is right there in front of you. And you'll avoid accidents because most of us are asleep while awake. And that's when accidents happen. You know that most accidents, according to statistics, happen in the home. Little things. Like, I can give you an example. Opening a window or a door and all of a sudden, ouch, there goes my back, or ouch, there goes my neck. I wonder how many of you have had neck issues where you strained some part of your body, your ankle, because you didn't see something right there in front of you, or you opened the fridge on your head, or really silly things while in the house, and you think, wow, why did that happen? Well, because we are not awake. We do things without thinking about them, and that's where mindfulness comes in. With practice, you will see that you now open doors, windows, fridge, whatever. Go into the car. You don't bang your head when you get in the car or a taxi or a trip and slip, because you see what's there. You're there with every movement that you make. And that's how you avoid accidents. Very important, especially for the elderly. We can teach them mindfulness and joy. When there's less stress and less comments, we're commenting less on our thoughts, we're happier. There's no reason not to be happy. And health, our body heals a lot better when we pause and let it do its work. And compassion, for some magical reason, I still haven't figured it out. We see others when we start focusing on ourselves and are with ourselves. We start seeing other people as people, just like us. And so compassion becomes natural. And resilience. Of course, it's so much easier to get out of situations and suffering when we face what's there without fighting it. It's there. So it's time for clarity of mind. So let's get a clean slate and start from scratch. Every moment, every day, we can do this. We can go up and view everything from the top as it is. Clarity. It's time to wake up to what's in front of us. And by the way, that's one of the reasons why I started mindfulness, because I noticed that I was taking my young kids, my 3 children, to their after school activities by getting in the car and getting to their place without really knowing how I got there. All of a sudden, I realized I get in the car, I know when I get there, but I don't know what happened in between. And I thought, oh my goodness, how dangerous to drive automatically without really being there in the car when the three kids are in the back. And that's when I realized that it's time to start seeing with clarity, to see the roses, to see scenes, to see people, to actually see them and not see a kind of blur, because our minds are constantly saying things like judging them and so on. So put the gear in neutral and start exercising. Because when we exercise our minds, which is mindfulness practice, by the way, changes happen to the brain. The brain actually, because it's neuroplastic, changes, as I said before, and there are research studies on this with MRI, and you can find out more by just Googling it. There are two kinds of mindfulness. One is informal mindfulness, where most of you are probably familiar with this if you've done yoga and other exercises. There's the body scan, where you go through the body and you scan it with your eyes open or closed. Some say it's better to have your eyes open because you're going to tell your mind that this is reality. And by closing your mind, you're telling your mind that you need to be in a certain situation for things to work. So it's better to keep your eyes open and just kind of focus nowhere, but just into the air, and then scan your body. It might be harder, so start maybe with your eyes closed in a sitting position, lying position, or standing. And there's mindful seeing, just looking and observing without commentary, just looking at what's there. Right now you see the screen and you hear my voice, so actually two things. It should be one. But whatever comes into your ears, right now it's the sound of my voice and what you're seeing in front of you. And I hope you're not doing anything else, because multitasking is forgetting yourself. Mindful listening, listen. Just let the sound come in. You don't have to do anything. Just pay attention to the sound of my voice. You can keep your eyes open or close them. And then there's mindful breathing. We'll get to that. And of course, the 5 sense exercise, where you go through each of your senses and you pay attention to them while you're sitting, standing, even walking, or lying down. We are not born with a map. We don't have a map. We don't know. Not like animals that have that in their DNA. They know what to do. They know where to find food. They know what food works for them. They have it all. And they have, of course, their parents for a while who also help them. So they have something. We don't have anything. We don't have a map when we are born. We discover things. We learn by just trial and error. So when we get older, we need a map. And the map is mindfulness, awareness, practice. That's our map. So there are mindful actions that we can do. We can listen, practice. And this is a great chance to practice listening. You're listening to me. Later on, you'll be listening to someone else. And then you'll be listening to yourself. That's practice. Eating. Don't just eat in front of the TV or eat while standing or walking around. Sit down and pay attention to the food that's in front of you as you pick it up and put it in your mouth. Just be there. I think your body and mind deserves it. to eat mindfully. Same thing with reading, but I think most of us who read are there. But then maybe not. Maybe we read and then we walk around and we do things. So one thing at a time. Running. Don't know if you run, but I love running. And running is a great way to be mindful. Your running will be a lot better and there won't be any accidents. Guaranteed if you're there with your running and not daydreaming. Same with walking. It'll be more effective if you pay attention as you put your feet or as you feel your feet on the ground and you sense your body. The idea is to be with your body. Swimming, and of course, talking. I think talking is a lot harder, but it's worth the practice. And awareness, what happens when you pay attention? You are being open to the present. You're not judging. You're conscious of whatever you perceive, whether your thoughts, feelings, or sight, whatever you see. You're conscious of your surroundings. Finally, you're not on autopilot. You're conscious of your feelings. We have feelings, and yet we push them away. I don't want to feel that. When we are angry, no, I mustn't be angry. No, I shouldn't do this. I shouldn't do that. I shouldn't feel this. What a horrible feeling. What a horrible thought. Go away. Go. No, that's what comes up. No need to judge it. It just came up. It's just a thought. You didn't do anything. And of course, being conscious of your physical body. Not the way you want it to be, but the way it is. It's a beautiful body. Observing, and when you observe, you stop time and think of how much time you will have. Because being in mindfulness really saves a lot of time in the long run. And you can ask people who think that I live on the internet, or how do I manage to do so much in 24 hours or 12 hours? And the secret is mindfulness, awareness, practice. To get the practice, you need to change your habit. And that's quite easy if you put your mind to it. So there are lots of ways to do this. Your phone. There is insight meditation that I like very much that you can try out. Am I going backwards or forwards? Well, one way or the other. There we are. That you can use for guided mindfulness, music at the beginning. But eventually, you shouldn't have anything. It should just be you. No guided meditation, just you with yourself. And of course, there are also teachers and nurses that can help you. So, how do we start formal mindfulness? So, just let me know in the chat if you are ready. Okay, I talked enough. It's time to get to work. So, let me know in the chat by yes, you can send me a virtual hands up or thumbs up. So I see the 2 went up to 8, so I presume some of you are ready. I hope there's no. All right, so first thing, chair. Are you on a chair? If not, I presume you are, but find a chair. Now, the idea of chair, let me put my chair back, is to have your feet flat on the floor, preferably barefoot or with socks. But if you've got shoes, that's fine too. We just don't want any pressure. And since we're all at home, I think, or maybe university, I don't know, if you can take off your shoes. Number 3 is back straight, but not stiff. In other words, think of your chin as kind of going down. You don't have to physically make it go down, but think of the chin as down. And then the back should straighten. Or think of a string pulling from your head, like a marionette. But think straight. Don't move your body to straighten. You might want to move to sit a little bit at the edge of your chair. This is what I'm doing. This way you have a 90-degree angle and you're kind of part of the chair. So 90-degree by moving your seat forward. You don't want to strain your knees or anything like that. Next, you're going to put your two hands, now lower as much as you can, just beneath your navel. I think that's the most comfortable so that you don't have any pressure on your elbows. But if you need to put your hands a bit lower, that's fine. Wherever it feels comfortable and not constrained. Now, what we generally do is put a timer. Now, it's important to put a timer. You don't want to just start and then, think, well, I don't need a timer. I'll just do it as much as I want. No. Put a timer. Really, really important to have a timer. I use my phone, and as I said, Insight Timer, but we all have a timer on our phone. And I think we all have phones. But if not, see if you can find a timer. I'll give you a few seconds, but I'm going to time it for you this time. So you don't really need it, but you will need a timer. Important. Don't forget this step. All right. Next. Okay. This is formal mindfulness. You can see people do it together, not just alone. On the left, you will see Jon Kabat-Zinn. He has his shoes off and he's holding his hands on the side. Now, you might want to do this by putting your hands on your lap, but I think for our purposes, I'd like you to try putting your hands, as I said, just below your navel, as low as you need them to be. And the reason is that I'd like you to breathe naturally. You breathe naturally. This is no control. We don't control our breathing. But I want you to pay attention to your breathing from your tummy. So feel, just for now, just for a start, you can keep your eyes open. That's perfectly fine and encouraged. But if you must, you may close your eyes and try to sense your breathing from your stomach, from your tummy. As the breath goes in and out, no control. Now, this is probably the hardest part, not controlling your breath, even though we breathe naturally, and we know it, but somehow our minds try to interfere and control our breathing. Ridiculous, right? But we all do it, so it's not ridiculous. It's a fact. And if you don't do it, good for you. If you do, good for you. Everything is okay because it's you and whatever is happening to you. So whatever thoughts come in, whatever happens, it's good. We're going to go through a breathing sitting meditation exercise with Jon Kabat-Zinn. This is guided meditation. This is how most people start, but eventually we're going to let that go. So this is our first exercise. And I know you're ready, so here goes. Hope you can hear that. Let me stop so I just know that you can hear it. Professor Sharma, can you just let me know if you heard that? It was very quiet, but were you able
Yes.
to hear? Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
All right, let's start again.
So establishing yourself now in a sitting posture that embodies wakefulness and dignity, either cross-legged on a suitable cushion and mat on the floor, or on a meditation bench or a straight-back chair, allowing your head and neck to be balanced on your shoulders, and the whole of the torso to be erect but not stiff, placing your hands on your knees or together in your lap in a comfortable way, and allowing your shoulders to be relaxed and dropped. letting your pelvis provide a stable base to support your upper body, aware of the sensations of contact with the cushion or the chair. In other words, as best you can, sitting with the qualities of a mountain, fully present in the body, stable, grounded, and with an element of uplift to the posture itself. And when you're ready, becoming aware of the fact that you're breathing, bringing your attention to the belly as it expands with the in-breath and deflates with the out-breath, or to the passage of air in and out at the nostrils, or anywhere else that the breath sensations are accessible and vivid for you, and just feeling the breath coming into the body and leaving the body. Riding on the waves of the breath sensations with your full attention as best you can, moment by moment by moment, and breath by breath by breath, as we sit here. In touch as best you can be with the full duration of each breath coming into the body, and the full duration of each breath leaving the body, feeling the breath sensations as they flux and change moment by moment by moment. It's best if you can stay with the breath at a particular location in the body for an entire practice period. So if you start with the belly or with the nostrils, then the suggestion is to stay with the breath sensations in that region, rather than to jump around. In that way, we are cultivating a greater intimacy and familiarity with the breath, and a greater stability of attention. So just letting each breath come and go of its own accord, feeling the sensations of the breath moving in and out, moment by moment by moment. Of course, you may rapidly discover that it's not so easy to keep your attention on the breath. It doesn't take long to realize that just as in the body scan, the mind has a life of its own and will invariably take off into the past or the future, planning or worrying, liking or disliking, daydreaming or reverie, impatience or boredom, or even sleepiness. This is totally normal and not a problem at all. When you notice that your mind is no longer on the breath, then noticing what is on your mind in that moment, and then gently letting go of whatever it is, which doesn't mean pushing it away, but just recognizing it and letting it be, as we escort our attention back to the belly or to the nostrils, back to this breath, whether it's an in-breath or an out-breath. And once again, reestablishing the breathing center stage in the field of awareness. And if the mind wanders away from the breath 100 times, as it surely will, each and every time when we become aware that it is someplace else, we gently and patiently note what is on our mind in this moment, whatever it is, perhaps even making a light mental note such as thinking, or planning, or worrying. And without being harsh or critical or judging of ourselves, we simply recognize what is arising for what it is and let it be, as we come back to feeling this breath in this moment and begin again and again and again, each time for the first time, each moment the only moment, since our lives are unfolding here and now and only here and now, no matter what our thoughts are telling us. Since it's in the nature of the mind to wander, it's not that you are failing at meditation if your mind doesn't stay on the breath. It's that you're discovering something exceedingly important about the nature of the mind itself, and that is that it waves, just as the ocean waves. So it's never a matter of putting a stop to it, trying to shut off your thinking or make your mind go blank, but rather familiarizing yourself with the nature and the ways of your own mind, and cultivating a deeper intimacy with it through gentle observation, grounded in an awareness that is bigger than thinking, and wiser than thinking, and usually kinder than thinking, an awareness that grows out of our bringing the mind back to the breath gently but firmly, over and over and over again, allowing each in-breath to be a new beginning, and each out-breath a complete letting go. So sitting here now, mountain-like, fully awake, with a light touch, resting in awareness, not forcing anything, but as best we can, being fully in touch moment by moment with the breath as it comes into the body and as it leaves the body, and coming back over and over again when we lose touch with it momentarily, as we stay here, sitting. Soon you will hear the sound of a bell to signal the end of this segment of the sitting meditation practice. If you are extending your practice today to include one or both of the following tracks that expand the sitting practice, then just continuing right through the bell with a seamless continuity of moment-to-moment awareness. Otherwise, please use the sound of the bell to mindfully bring this period of formal practice to a close.
That was 10 minutes. You can write how you feel in the chat. 10 minutes of our lives, imagine. What happens generally, especially for beginners, but it changes. Every mindfulness, formal mindfulness sitting practice is different. One day you may feel one way, very easy, it just goes through. One day you'll feel that you're noticing your impatience, When is this going to be over? Please be over. I can't take this anymore. What can't we take? This is a wonderful learning experience. And I noticed that we lost 3 people. That is natural. It's natural to feel that it's hard and it's boring, maybe, and I can't do this. But think of how much time we spend every day on mundane activities that don't contribute anything to our well being, to our brain, the quality of our brain, like checking emails. First thing in the morning, we open our phones or our computers and we check emails, check our Instagram, check our Facebook to see if there are any messages. And then, you know what? Time yourself to see how much time you spend. I would say you spend over 30 minutes, way over 10 minutes. So think of the 10 minutes that you spend on things that are not that important every day before you do anything important, and decide maybe that you'd like to make a change, that you are important, not only to yourself, but to others. The quality of your mind, of your well being, your health is very important to your loved ones, to those around you, your colleagues. Very important. So why not take care of me, of ourselves, so that we can be in a better position to look after others if need be. So that was 10 minutes. Not easy at all. But that's what life is. And if we face feelings of impatience, that's who we are. And mindfulness will definitely change that. We're going to practice 5 minutes of just noticing, eyes open, continue sitting, and just be with yourself. 5 minutes. Thank you. That was an exercise for the mind. Very, very important, but not only for the mind, because it changes the brain. Well, before mindfulness, we are sponges. We just absorb everything. After it, we're more adaptable. We're open to things. We are fragile and vulnerable before. But afterwards, we are realistic and take responsibility for whatever is there. Before we blame others for whatever happened. You spilt the milk, it's your fault. Look at the mess, you caused it. And show anger. After mindfulness, we realize that things happen and we're happy and compassionate. Before mindfulness, we are irrational. We make excuses. Afterwards, we're resilient. Before, we have this need to control everything, control our time, control whether we sit or stand, whether we just control everything. With mindfulness, we are flexible and understanding. Before mindfulness, our quality of sleep may be poor. We may think we're sleeping a lot, but we wake up tired. After mindfulness, we may sleep even less, but the amount of sleep is quality sleep. So our sleep, the quality of sleep will improve, guaranteed. So be kind to your mind. It's important. Develop a daily practice. Every morning after you brush your teeth, whatever you need to do, before you hit that phone, you can take the phone and use the timer, but that's all. And remember what Aristotle said, we are what we repeatedly do. Excellence then is not an act, but a habit, and you can develop it, a quality of mind. So say yes. Just say yes. You can do it. When unpleasant thoughts, pain, or fear set in during the day, in my case, before my operation, I was terrified. And I said to my fear, you can be here on the operating table because I was fully awake with me. But I make the decisions. So when the doctors left to wash their hands and I was lying there, my fear told me, Nellie, just get up and leave. You don't need this operation. You've lived with this for 40 years. Why do you need it? Why do you have to feel uncomfortable? Avoid feeling uncomfortable. Just leave. And I told my fear, remember, I told you you can stay, but I make the decisions. And my decision was to carry on. And the operation was great. So let fear stay, but you make the decisions. Don't base your decisions on fear. Bring attention back to the body and breath, and that's how you practice mindfulness. So these are some references, and some resources, free mindfulness resources, audio, guided and not guided, timed. Everything is here for free, and the links are available. So I think my time is up, and I'd like to also invite you to a free online course that's starting January 9th with registration on the 1st. There's the link on mindfulness awareness practice. And remember, be kind to your brain. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Nelly, to make our webinar so helpful and worthwhile. There's a drastic change in my voice. It has become so peaceful. And I would like to ask a few of the questions by the participants. Few of them they are posted in the chat box. Shall I read it for you?
Yes, please. That would help.
Okay.
Let me open there we are. Put my glasses on.
So, Niyati, you want to ask, or shall I do the needful? Students, you can put on the mic and ask by yourself.
Let me see if they have rights. No, they need here. I gave them rights.
Okay.
Good afternoon, ma'am. I'm Tanya this side. Uh, First of all, your session was really amazing. I absolutely loved the session, and the meditation mindfulness thing that we did in the end was extremely pacifying, and I feel a lot more calm. My question is regarding swimming, actually. I do it on a regular basis. And I realized that in your presentation, you've said that this can also be done mindfully. So my question is, when I'm swimming, after a while, I start feeling too tired. So can I use mindfulness to not feel tired during the practice?
Feeling tired? Do you feel tired during the day too, or just during mindfulness?
Just during mindfulness, when I'm taking too much care of my stroke and how my hands are following, how my feet are fluttering, after a while it gets a little taxing. So what can I do to make it less taxing?
What is suggested generally is to simply put your chin down and make sure that your back, your spine is straight. Straighten up. What happens when we let go is that we go into sleep mode. That's the automatic pilot, which we're used to. We're used to feeling tired when we stop. We're so used to moving all the time that when we stop, we're not used to it. So it's a habit. It'll take time, but try to straighten up. Every time you feel that you're going to sleep or you feel drowsy, straighten up and just let the thought of drowsiness be there. Don't fight it. Just say, okay, that's fine. And go back to the breath and your body. Continuously focus on the presence of your body as you sit, or if you're lying down, which is kind of dangerous for beginners. Feel the impact, the contact of your body on the chair. Just focus on that whenever you feel drowsy. So actually feeling drowsy is moving away from mindfulness. And that's the practice. The practice is to bring yourself back to the awakefulness that is mindfulness. So what you're experiencing is totally normal, and it's part of the practice.
Thank you so much, ma'am.
You're welcome.
Okay, there's one question from Gargi, and she has written that it's seen that the wandering mind sometimes during mindfulness digresses towards not so positive thoughts. How do we change that? And how can mindfulness help us overcome the negativity bias ingrained in us? How do we become mindful and positive at the same time?
That's an excellent question that we all face on a daily basis, and that's where compassion comes in. We learn through mindfulness that we're all the same. We experience the same things regardless of color, creed, religion, and so on, and culture. So, yes, what you need to, or you should think about, is first of all, realize that mindfulness, or paying attention to your thoughts, is not easy because we get a lot of negativity, because that's our minds. It's geared that way. And there are reasons for that, of course, psychological reasons, historical reasons of the way the brain was built, the way it was set up, and you can read about it if you're interested. But for now, what you can do is simply realize that that's what's happening and come back to the breath. Not to go with it. It's like a boat. You watch the boats if you're by the stream or by the river, and you don't get on every boat. You just look at the boat. So don't get on with your thoughts. Don't let them take you. Come back to the breath. And that's the exercise. What's happening to you is exactly what happens. And that's when you bring yourself back to the breath, back to your body. Feel your body as it's sitting or even standing, lying down. Feel the body. Come back to the breath. And that's the exercise. So you're doing the right things. And it'll go away. The thoughts, your life will change, and you'll be more optimistic naturally. But don't try to control it. You can't.
Another question from Mahima. Mahima, you want to ask, or shall I proceed?
Yes, ma'am, I can ask.
Please.
Okay, good afternoon, ma'am. Hope you're doing well. Ma'am, I have two doubts. First one is how can people with ADHD practice mindfulness? Considering ADHDers, they have that, sense of instant gratification. We have like low dopamine and energy levels. And considering mindfulness is a consistent practice over a long period of time, so how to make it a habit? Because we tend to give up very easily.
Great points. That's where mindfulness is so helpful for ADHD and ADD. Also, the dreamers, remember, they also need mindfulness. And they've conducted research even in prison where, things are really, really hard and everybody's impatient. It changes, but it takes time, a little bit at a time. I use mindfulness in the classroom as well, sometimes in between, right in the middle when I see that everybody's restless, or at the beginning just before we start. And the ADHD and the ADD students are actually the first, they're the ones that seem to gravitate towards it. So don't be afraid to use it with ADHD students. And if you happen to be an ADHD, just do it. Just do it. It takes time, but you'll get there.
Niyati,
Okay,
you will
ma'am.
ask?
Ma'am, can I ask the second question, please?
Yes, please.
Ma'am, do all individuals react to this practice of mindfulness equally? Like there are individual differences in terms of socio-economic backgrounds, religion. So do all individuals react in the same way after a long period of time?
That's an excellent question. According to MRI studies, yes. But if you think about it, do you really think that we're different? I think what mindfulness really does, it opens up our realization, our awareness that we're all human. We're not different. We have the same blood color. As far as I know, I don't know anyone with blood that's not red. We're made of the same chemicals. Our brains are the same. Everything else is what we picked up. That's the map that we pick up, according to our cultures. We pick up different things, different religions, different way of life, and so on, our family. But deep down, in our beings, our core being, our bodies are exactly the same inside. So, yes, we're all the same and we reach the same points when we practice.
Okay, ma'am. Thank you so much. Thank
You're
you.
very welcome.
Niyati, you may ask now.
Yes,
Yes.
ma'am. Thank you, ma'am, for the wonderful presentation. And as I agree that mindfulness is linked with improved psychological health, I have one query. As we know in recent times, mindfulness is being quickly adopted, like in the mainstream. So, does this help or to it will hinder the process? Also, are there any deep research practices being linked to the mindfulness practices and the current global trends so that we proceed in the right direction? Yes.
I'm not sure I understand the question. I thought I understood at the beginning, but then I wasn't sure. Are you asking, because it's in the mainstream, are you asking if there are any global changes? Is that what you're asking?
Yes, ma'am, exactly. Since mindfulness after the COVID period, it is quickly adopted in the mainstream. So, are there any deep research practices linked to it to avoid any myths or to like to break the myths, and also how we can link the research practices with the mindfulness to proceed in the right direction?
Well, there are lots of research studies. If you go into mindfulness, just write in Google Scholar. I don't know if you're familiar with Google Scholar, but you should because it's amazing. You can find under Google Scholar, if you just write the terms mindfulness and then the date on the left, 2022. And you'll get lots of studies on COVID and around the world. Different studies have been carried out. I couldn't bring all the studies, but I know they're there because I checked them out. You can also check from 2020. First check 2022 and see what research is available, mindfulness research or other terms, and then from 2020. And you can also find the citations. I've added some references that you can look at that are quite recent. I think one of them is on COVID, if I'm not mistaken. I added my link. Let me add it in the chat again in case you missed it. I think it's still, yes. There is the link to the presentation. You'll find under the references, you'll find great questions. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am.
Okay, the next question goes to Riddhi. Riddhi, you ready?
Yes, ma'am. Good afternoon, ma'am. It was a privilege to hear you, ma'am. And my question is that we can see children around who are gifted, which we term as differently abled. However, I call them specially abled. So, how can mindfulness be a blessing to them because they have their energy levels in the extremes?
Great question. Yes, mindfulness is perfect for the gifted and the disadvantaged and so on. It's and anyone who's full of energy, which is most of us. I can attest to that. We're all energetic, and there are different reasons for it. Yes, it's perfect for that. It works. There's research conducted on that if you need proof, but you have my word for now.
I think anyone else who want to ask any question more? We need to wind up now. So thanks again, Nele, for helping us become aware of mindfulness with the goal of providing a richer educational experience. And I think all teachers can benefit from the deeper understanding of mindfulness awareness. And we hope you will again join and speak to us by visiting SCRT Delhi in future. And I look forward to it very positively. Thank you all for participating so well and asking such beautiful questions. This is Professor Abha signing off on behalf of SCERT Delhi. Stay tuned, stay connected, stay happy, and stay blessed. Bye bye, and take